Hey guys, how you doing? It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a couple of months since I've made my vlogs. Well, I got a few things to talk about, you know? Well, it's about my childhood experiences that I've experienced actually. Well, during the times when I cannot remember about when the time that I was in that I was in that stage where I wasn't even in high school. But the times when I was in high school, the memories, the memories that I remember from from that time is when I was just a normal, um, when I was just a normal kid. I was just doing my thing. I was just doing my thing. Studying, doing my homework, all that. And one of those moments is when I came across one of those naughty naughty high school kids who just looking for trouble every single time. And I can't stand it. Especially that one kid that I remember who also had the same name as me, Matthew. Yeah, yeah, he had the same name as me. But he was very hyperactive, like energetic, a loose cannon. He couldn't. I I was watching him doing all this crazy shit every single time, and it's saddening to see about how he treats others. I remember the time he used to punch me in the face, but I took the punches. If I can remember, he punched me like twice, like right here. Oh, I stand corrected. It was on the left side of my face. All because he clapped it. All because he was looking for trouble. He literally walked up to me. He clapped me. He started clapping in my face. He started clapping in my face, and I pushed him. So he came out to me, punched me twice in the face. Man, I will never forget those moments. Even the times when even the times when I used to have those moments when I've been humbled by the teachers. It was mostly my English teacher. She liked me very much. I could tell. She cared so much for me. Not for the other kids. The other kids is fine, but she cared most about me. I mean, she liked me very, very much. I knew that she cared for me, and I liked her a lot, even though the kids was just sitting there and just watching her walking down to the other class, and then they're just making fun of her, and I'm just watching her walking, just minding her own business, just getting to her, just walking to her destination of another classroom or trying to discuss about something. Well, like I said, I cannot outrun my own story. Well, I told myself earlier I cannot outrun my own story. I have to tell it at some point. Well, I'm telling it to you right now. Well, also there is other memories that I've had from high school is when I've been spending an entire year in that class, in that math class, being surrounded with the most disrespectful kids that I've ever came across. And by the way, I'm the only one there who was so humbled that I never wanted any trouble with them, but then they were looking for trouble with me because I could tell they were jealous. I knew for an absolute fact that they were jealous. Not only, well, I didn't know about it before. I didn't even realize it either, but since I'm older now and I can look back at those memories, and I could immediately tell about how it went down, how I realized about how I was treated from back then. But I had to move on. I'm not going back. I cannot go back to those memories again. Ever. But it changed me. It made me stronger. And to the very end, I finally graduated, or as my South African brothers and sisters would say, I matriculated. Yeah, on that very day, I'm surrounded with those kids, who have finally made it through. We're not kids anymore. We're grown adults. We're adults. We're doing our own thing. I'm doing my thing. They're doing theirs. Honestly, some of them died. I know. It's saddening. Yeah. The only thing that I also experienced in high school is that when I was walking to another class, and then some of those kids, they were some of those kids um they were literally playing with the well in my well in high school they were playing rugby. Yeah, they were playing rugby, and as they were passing the ball to each other, the rugby ball literally hit the window, and then from the most random thing I've ever seen them do is just clapping like this, like they were just clapping for no reason at all. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Nah, they're just immature bunch of little creatures just lurking around. You know, I also remember the time when I came across someone, when I came across one of those new kids who just came in, and as I was sitting there in that classroom with my pen and paper and an examination question paper or something. Anywho, I was looking on my left and I saw this kid. I was like, "Who is this?" I don't even know him, man. And I don't care about who he is. But I've been there longer than he ever been. I don't care about where he comes from. I don't care about what he does with himself. I don't give a damn. But that moment when I was just waiting to get inside of class, some of those other kids, they were just surrounding me. They were just touching me, touching my pockets. They just, and then they were calling the other kids to also. Okay, I know it's getting dark, but I have to let you know about what happened. Um, well, I was surrounded by them, and they start to gather around me only, but no one else. I mean, they were just like it was like normal kids who just want to be gangsters. They're part of a so-called gang, a so-called gang. You know what I'm saying? Like they're so notorious, they're so fearsome. But I don't fear them. I wasn't afraid, but I didn't even realize it from back then. But I knew that I wasn't afraid of them. I mean, unto this very day, nothing can touch me. No one can harm me. By the grace of God, I'm safe. I can be fearless. What can they do to me when I'm safe in God's hands? Well, from back then, at that moment, now that situation escalated, they were busy surrounding me. Now I tried to walk away, but then this one kid pulled me back. pulled me back again, and I was right up in his face. And from out of nowhere, he punched me like millions of. He punched me like 3 or 4 times, mostly here. He punched my glasses off, just like that, and on the corner of my eye, I saw my glasses just rolling down on the ground, while he keep punching me the whole time. and and I called the principal's office. I couldn't sit in that classroom and embarrass myself. I knew I knew for an absolute fact that I cannot be there. I cannot be in that classroom with the other with those other immature kids with their so-called notoriety of thinking they can do whatever they want, you know. That's what happened in my high school days. But it changed me. It made me a stronger being. I am not afraid anymore. Even pushed me to my very limit where I could just keep on grinding and striving and becoming a better person. So, on that moment, so after that, I've been walking I've been walking. There were two kids just holding my arms in my arms while I was in a trance. You know, I was on my whole face was bleeding, and also I didn't even know where I was because of how hard that kid hit me in the face. I didn't even know where I was. He almost knocked my brains out. He almost knocked my brains out, man. But I took the punches. And as I said before, I know how to take a. I was brave enough to take the punch. That's how tough I was. Being brave is not about. It's not about thinking that you can be tough. You know. On that day, I've learned that being brave is learning how to take the first punch. That's what I've learned. And I also knew that I cannot ever give up on being the best version of me. And also on that day that I've learned, I learned from that day is two things. One, I gotta take the hits to determine about whether it will help me to move forward or it will define me and let me stay stuck and be afraid for the rest of my life. I managed to move forward. So after that, the principal decided to let me do my examination by his office. So as I was sitting there, that same kid came around the corner and he just stood in front of me. He just stood in front of me and said words that I didn't need to hear. Like he just said threats to me mostly. I was the only kid sitting there by the office, doing my thing, doing my examination, you know. So after that time when my mom came to get me at the school, and I knew that. So she told me. I told her everything about what happened. To be honest, it was such a random moment for me. You know, those kids are just looking for trouble. They just want to hit somebody. They got issues. They got issues. I could tell. I don't know why they wanna they wanna do something like that, out of the ordinary. I knew that they were a bunch of sketchy little bitches just looking for trouble every single time. But they're not they're not the same kids that I remember from back then. I know they changed. They're doing their own thing now. But I'll never forget that moment. But I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. It's the only way to move forward. Not dwell on the past, but to be present and to not be perfect. I'm not striving for perfection. None of those. I'm not striving for perfection or anything else like that. I'm always being present. I'm always being present. That is why I've grown, I've developed, I've becoming the best version of me. Not because what they did to me, but it's how I grew. It's how I made myself become stronger. Well, the following year when it happened, it was only in, well, I remember that it was in 2017 that it literally happened. That year that I was that year is the most unforgettable high school year where I was in the worst school year of my life. Well, when 2018 came, I knew I had to switch classes. It was a very subtle farewell to those kids who used to mistreat me in used to mistreat me in the previous year. But I knew I found peace in a better classroom. There's no chaos, there's no malice, not from what those kids did to me during that year. But when 2018 came, the 11th grade is where I made a few changes. I told the teachers I want to be in that classroom. I want to become part of that group, but not the group where there's no respect being shown or attained towards themselves and towards the teachers. None of those things. They don't have those. I know that they were very immature little creatures, but they changed. But things have changed. Not because they have changed, but the things have changed. But they don't know me about what I've gone through. They don't know my pain. They can say whatever they want to say about me, but I don't care. It is for the best. Oh yeah, I remember the time when, well, let's just put that behind us. I remember the time when I used to play at that school hall on that day when I was I was playing on the piano, and then those other kids, they were playing on the clarinet, and I was really locking in. And then the following morning, one of the teachers, they said to me, "Wow, what was that you playing on that piano? Wow, was that you playing on that piano?" I was like, "Yes, that was me on the piano." And he's like, "Wow, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you. I never knew that you could play like that." And I said, "Thanks. Thanks anyway." Well, I don't remember much about 2019, the year when the year that made me even stronger. I knew for an absolute fact well, 2019 was like so much memories happening. Well, it was one of those moments where we were participating in, well, it was sort of like uh, a cheering competition what where any where they determined, well, the teachers determined about who will be the better school, who has the most cheers, who has the most cheerful energy. So we won, and we won that trophy called the Spirit Cup, because we got the most spirit. And from that, I had a lot of memories from 2019. The time when I left hockey, I started out with weightlifting for the first time. Yeah, I even started out with weightlifting. Wait, let me show you a trophy that I've won. See that? That's my first bronze medal. My first bronze medal. Yeah, it's the only achievement I've ever had. I knew for an absolute fact that I was gonna achieve something there. I didn't even know, but it was memorable. I even remember the times when, well, it was also the darkest times that happened when I got robbed in the station in broad daylight. Literally, I got robbed in a train station, and that was the time that I stopped taking the trains to school, to high school. I had to walk to school. I had to walk to high school, and I had to walk from high school back home. Honestly, during that exam, it happened during that exam. And and it was like two guys and a kid who literally robbed me. No, it was the one guy who wanted to snatch the phone out of my pocket. So I fought back, but he already got it. So I ran after them. So as I was running, he looked back at me like this. So he looked back at me like this, with that evil in his eyes. But I could tell that he's dead. He's dead. I lived on and he died. I lived on and he sadly passed on. Well, he perished. Yeah. Sometimes the moments from that year, it was dark, and then it became bright again because I had another chance. Well, after that examination, I didn't even make it through. I failed. I actually failed. I didn't do well after that moment, but I made it. To be honest, I made it past high school. I had a lot of memories. I knew that I couldn't give up. Not from what happened. It was so hard, living without a phone, and I knew that I couldn't give up on that. I couldn't give up on living without a phone, and yet I've been surrounded by those kids from my music class who happens to be playing this type of music when we were doing our final examination. They be talking a lot of nonsense, a lot of gall, but that's okay. I didn't worry about that, you know. At least I did my best. I think for an absolute fact, I think I knew that God knew what he was doing with my life. He put me through these things so he can strengthen me. He breaks me in order to reshape me, to rebuild me and my spirit. Sometimes he puts me through things that leaves me broken, but he still strengthens me. And during that time I always never stop praying. And not only that, even the COVID-19 pandemic changed me. It made me a different person. It made me more alone and full of myself. And more independent. Not being like everybody else. Not being like them. Not being like those kids who just want to be mediocre or something like that, you know. Well, those are just memories that I've been sharing with you today. If y'all want to see more of my vlogs, please like and subscribe to the video. Hope you have an awesome day further, and I'll be hearing from you. I want to hear from you in the comment section. Well, y'all take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Master out. Bye bye, guys.